Alrighty. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So the P-47 Thunderbolt is out, and so is the new channel map, and I wanted to take a look at it in VR today to see how well it's performing. So these are my settings for VR right now. These are what I'm using. This is what is turned on or off. And it seems I've had to tone this stuff down a lot to get reasonable performance in DCS. I'm using the Oculus tray tool to handle my pixel density, so this is set at 0.0 or 0.5. The rest of this stuff I'm leaving alone. So let's jump in and see what the P-47 is like in the channel map in the ground attack mission. Okay, here we go. Zoom. I hit active pause for a minute to take a look around. Let's take a look at this cockpit in VR. Not bad. Not bad at all. Pleasantly surprised by how good it looks in VR. Very nice indeed. Probably one of the most detailed cockpits they've ever done in DCS, without a doubt. So I will say this, I am pleasantly surprised by I'm getting reasonable performance. It's still not great, it's still not what it was pre 2.5.6 open beta, but it is a little bit better. Could it be better? Yeah, it could be a lot better. And this all-new cockpit, which looks fantastic, along with the details of this channel map, is definitely pushing it pretty hard right now. And to try to make this a little bit easier. Alright, let's try this again. Did a little tweaking of my dead zones. So it takes a little more effort to engage the rudders now, so I'm not doing it by accident so much. Let's turn on those labels for a second so I can see where everybody is down here. Some transports on the road up here. That's a little better. So I definitely have improved things by tweaking my rudder curve a little bit. I don't usually add dead zone to rudders, and it seems way more effective because I was engaging my rudders when I didn't want to, way too much. Okay, we got a couple more guys up here, another truck. That's a little better. Got a couple more transports on the road and around things here. There we go. Down to about 29-30 FPS. And keep in mind, I have an i9 9900K running at stock speed with a 2080 Super GPU with 32 gigabytes of PC 3000 megahertz memory. And yeah, things could definitely be better right now. This performance is definitely leaving a bit to be desired. Let's see what we can do over here. That was close. Got one there. A few transports there. Let's take a look at another mission. This is probably the worst case scenario because of all the ground targets and the detail of the ground. All right, this is the free flight mission over the new channel map for DCS with the P-47D Thunderbolt.
Use this mission to get a feel for the aircraft and explore the map. There are no threats.
I'll turn those labels off. Back to about 35-36 FPS again. That seems to be the norm here. And again, everything is really clear and readable in the cockpit with my Rift-S right now. This probably is one of the best cockpits they've ever came up with for DCS Warbird modules. So sure, I like this coastline though. It looks kind of odd. Like those rock faces. They look just too white. Looks like they're attempting to maybe get a little bit of foam in the water there, kind of going towards the edge. Got a little lighthouse up here. Yeah, it looks like 37, 35, 36. That seems to be the norm right about here. I guess that's not terrible because it does feel rather smooth at the moment, which is really surprising to me for the number of objects and the degree of detail we have on the ground in this. Now I'm down to about 29-30 over this more densely populated area, and things are definitely a little bit more sluggish than what they were. Pretty cool detail to fly over though. So in general, flying this thing is a little different too, because this is more of an interceptor than it is a fighter. So it's very difficult to turn. It feels like flying a truck versus the other planes in DCS that I own for the World War II aircraft, like the Spitfire, the P-51D, and the Focke-Wulf 190 D9 Dora. All of those planes are far more maneuverable and kind of better in a dogfight scenario, where this thing is just like a truck, man. Really difficult. It takes some serious getting used to. I am wrestling with it. So now that I'm away from the water, I'm hitting more, well, back to 35. For a minute there, I saw almost 50. I think that's if I point my nose in the air. Yeah, if you point your nose in the air, you get a lot better FPS because there's nothing to render in that blue sky. Takes forever to roll. Holy cow. And it seems a little sluggish, even though it's telling me 36, 37 FPS. It's a little hesitant at times. And I really have to turn my details down to get acceptable performance like this. All right, here we are in the Spitfire, and let's see what kind of scenario we end up with here. I am going to look out the cockpit here. So we've got some transports over this way. So oddly, everything looks a little washed out in my Spitfire. I don't know if that's an issue with the channel map or what. Getting a little bit better FPS. I've been getting as high as 40 right here instead of that 35, 37. Yeah, I'm definitely getting a little bit better FPS, more between 37 and 43 now in the Spitfire. So it appears that the P-47 definitely takes some more horsepower to render, because it really is the nicest looking plane. I mean, look at this. I even have a mirror in the cockpit in my Spitfire, and I'm still hitting 40, 42. A couple of transports down here to hit. Some more guys right there. So my results are a little bit better in the Spitfire versus the P-47. But it's fluctuating. I'm still seeing as low as 35 at times. Actually 33, 32. But I've also seen as high as 43, which I wasn't seeing at all in the P-47. So I would definitely say that the P-47's taken a little bit more horsepower to render because it looks so much better. All right, here we are this time in the P-51D. Turn those labels off. Just taking a little scenic flight here over the channel map. So there's definitely a difference in cockpit art between the Mustang, the Spitfire, and the P-47. The P-47 definitely looks the part. It really does. It's definitely more detailed. These older cockpits, they just look a bit more washed out. Now, granted, the gauges are very easy to read and see, and these look great, but not as polished as the P-47. Even in VR, the P-47 looks nicer. and just cleaner and crisp and more detailed. But performance-wise, it looks like it's pretty much the same across the board. It does seem to take a little bit more horsepower when in the P-47. Probably about 5 FPS is what I'm seeing. But, you know, the channel map isn't optimized yet. The P-47 is brand new as well. These are both in early access, so I'm hoping things are going to change. VR performance in DCS isn't so great to begin with, and the last open beta update things got a hair better, but, you know, still leaves a lot to be desired if you've ever flown IL-2 in VR. This looks nicer, though. They've always had, you know, more visual detail in DCS than they do in IL-2. Alright guys, I'm taking a look at the channel map a little more in detail at the moment. So I'm butted up against the edge of the map, so that's why you could see right here there's a lot of detailed stuff, and that's the top left corner of the map here. So I'm not an expert on my topography of England, but my understanding is this right here, this corner I'm facing is the top left corner of the map when you look at it. And this is supposed to be England over here, at least some areas of it. And it looks rather detailed. There's a lot of objects to render. A lot. So this is just one of the areas that are really densely populated. I think this would be fun to set a bunch of ships in here and set up like an air-to-ground practice mission in this top left corner of the map. And just look how densely populated all those buildings are down there and how close together everything is. Pretty impressive. But it's definitely taken a performance hit. This is a lot to render all at once. Looks fantastic though. So we're in the Spitfire now in another area of the map, and I've kind of just picked a couple random areas that looked real interesting on the map from the mission editor to take a look at. So this is more down in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Trying not to black out there. Fantastic little details everywhere. Lots of objects to be rendered, but I think this is more suited for 2D than it is VR right now. It's definitely taken some performance to pull this off. Alright, here we are over another little harbor area. This looks like it would be fun to set up an air-to-ground mission for there too. Just set a bunch of them bigger ships in there that you can blow up. They really packed a lot of stuff into this map. So I think overall, the P-47D and the channel map in VR looks pretty cool. VR performance leaves a lot to be desired in DCS still. When they introduced the 2.5.6 open beta, they really added a lot of cool things like new lighting and lots of new details, but at the same time, it also hurt the performance greatly. And when they released Super Carrier about a week ago, the VR performance got a wee bit better compared to what it was, but it's still not where it was before 2.5.6, around 2.5.5. We still haven't hit that kind of performance again in VR, and I'm not sure we're ever going to get back there at the rate things are going. The P-47D has a cockpit that blows away all the other cockpits in terms of visual detail right now in the Warbirds. I wouldn't say it blows away the Tomcat or the Hornet or some of the modern stuff, but for the Warbirds, the P-47D does represent a monumental leap forward in cockpit detail. It just looks the part. It's very beautiful. And doing ground missions down low in the channel map, there's so many details and there's so many objects to render. It's just that we keep adding more and more and more things to render, and it's really going to be hard to get back to that better performance we had in VR at one time before 2.5.6. I tend to still enjoy flying with my super ultra widescreen monitor and my Track IR now more than I do VR and DCS. Things just look better. I mean, look at the detail level. Look what I have to do to get reasonable performance. I have to turn textures on medium, terrain textures on low, all this other stuff on low. So many things have to be turned off. It's just a bear. And if I were to turn, if I were to go back to my custom setting 1, which is what I use to make most of my videos in 2D, it would be 10 FPS in VR. It's just that bad. So I think we got a long way to go to get VR to be back to being reasonable performance in DCS. And I guess it's a double-edged sword, because as they make things prettier, as they make more beautiful cockpit details and more beautiful planes and more beautiful places to fly over, that just adds a bit more to render. And it's just basic math. You add more things to the overall scene, it's going to take more horsepower to render it. It's just that simple. And we're not going to get multi-threading support anytime soon. We're not going to get Vulkan anytime soon. It doesn't look like, at least. So we're stuck with what we have. I'm going to leave it at that, guys. So that was the P-47D and some of the channel map in VR in DCS World. And as always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Feel free to hit that like button. And until next time, guys,